Ken Bondi has announced an arrest has been made of one of these leftists. This individual apparently threw a Molotov cocktail into a Tesla showroom, which is crazy because I'm not sure we got that initial report. 2 more prominent Trump supporters were swatted today in the wee hours of the morning. So it certainly seems like, yes, these things are continuing or escalating. Kash Patel, director of the FBI, issued a statement saying we're aware and we are going to go after these people full force. So I look forward to some real justice in this country. It's going to be hard, though, because you got people like Bill Burr calling for more violence, or I should say, to be fair, advocating for those who murder. We'll put it that way, and saying they should be freed. When he yelled "Free Luigi" for a second time, and went on. I think it was on the Breakfast Club where he said, if this country was run his way, he'd shut down Fox News, CNN, and ban people from commenting on the internet. I get the point he's trying to make, but this dude supports murder. Like, it is insane at the point where this guy is like outright supporting murderers and saying people shouldn't be allowed to have speech and discuss these things. That's where the typical left tends to fall. Understand Bill Burr is not one of these guys in the street throwing Molotov cocktails. He is a prominent mainstream celebrity. So when we say things like the left is violent, it's not because we think literally every liberal is violent. It's because prominent personalities of liberal persuasion are calling for it, defending or advocating for it while people on the ground do it. You don't have that thing on the right. We got a couple other really big stories that are funny. A Democratic congressman, he was a Democrat, right? I want to make sure I got that one right. Attacked DOJ from beyond the grave. That's right. Somehow, despite the fact that he was dead, he posted this screed on social media. Shocking how those things can happen. Perhaps our politicians aren't really our politicians. And then probably we got a couple other fun stories. How about this one? CNN had dead air for about a minute because the network is so trash they didn't realize they were broadcasting for a minute with no sound. That one isn't really the biggest story, but it's kind of funny. And Anonymous has taken responsibility for taking down Snapchat and X, and liberals are questioning Anonymous. I just want everyone to know there is no such group as Anonymous. It does not exist. And the fact that liberals think a random video uploaded to TikTok, in fact, is a declaration from a hacker organization to take down global infrastructure shows exactly the kind of people they are and how much they actually pay attention to the news. So we'll talk about all this. Before we get started, my friends, we're going to go to our great sponsor. It is Tax Network USA. Shout out tnusa.com/Tim. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. With April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever. In 2025, enforcement is ramped up, and if you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. The longer you do, the worse it gets. Ignoring your tax troubles is the worst thing you can do. April 15th marks another tax year that has passed you by. Getting ahead of this now is the smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Instead, let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Why? Because not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists today. It's free. Stop the threatening letters, stop looking over your shoulder, and protect yourself from property seizures and bank levies. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Tim. April 15th is just around the corner, about a month. Act now before the IRS acts first. Shout out Tax Network. Thank you for sponsoring the show. You guys rock. Of course, we also have Cast Brew Coffee, and I'm waiting. Ian's Graphene Dream still sold out. But Phil's 2 weeks till Christmas is still available. I know it's not Christmas anymore, but maybe you like gingerbread coffee. I think it's pretty good. And you get a picture of Phil Labonte dressed like Santa Claus. This is a holiday blend. So just so you know, when this runs out, you will never be able to get a picture of Phil Labonte as Santa Claus. And if you really want it, you got to get it. Also, don't forget to check out the Green Room show. We're not going to have the uncensored show. We don't do this on Friday. But the Green Room podcast at rumble.com/Timcast IRL is available for all Rumble Premium users. So sign up for Rumble Premium with promo code TIM10. Check out the show. You're going to love it. Uncensored conversations. And, I've had a lot of prominent people in media say of me behind my back, but publicly, so not really, that I have a problem with being too honest. Right? So I'm willing to tell you what I think of the businesses of other people in the space, whether it's right, wrong, or how much money they probably make. And a lot of people don't like it. So I'm just saying some of those conversations happen and people get mad at me for this stuff. But, you know, whatever. I'm going to say what I feel like saying. Don't forget to smash that like button. Share the show with literally everyone on the planet. I mean it. Like you right now, friend everyone on Facebook, all billion or whatever, and send them this. Okay, I'm kidding. But share the show. It really does help. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Chris Nosky.
Howdy, howdy. Great to be here. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Who are you? What do you do?
I am Cnosky. I am from the Discord. I am first and foremost very happy to be here. Very happy to be here for what is now the 2-year anniversary of your Discord. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, 2-year anniversary. What a perfect date. Pi Day.
Well, technically it was the 16th, but I mean, there was troubles. You know, we'll just go with 2-year.
We call those the troubles on the Discord. The troubles.
But more importantly, I am from the Quiet Part podcast. You can find me Rumble, X, and YouTube for that purpose. And this is a show that was more or less born out of your Discord.
Very cool. Yeah, so we also had Roma Nation on a few weeks ago. And what we do is we have a Discord server. It's a community where you can hang out with like-minded individuals. Go to timcast.com. You click join us, you sign up. This fine gentleman here, Mr. Nosky, started a podcast from the Discord, and now he is here to promote it and join us on the show. So thank you for hanging out.
Well, thanks for having me again. You got a lot of great people in the Discord. You got other shows, Joey Cannoli, Outworld Live, Tyler Today News, all great things happening. They have a different spin than what you would see on my show or even your show. And I think for culture building, that's the best thing ever. Agreed.
And we're going to get them on as well. So thanks for hanging out. Should be fun. Brett is hanging out.
Guys, it is Brett. Pop Culture Crisis, normally Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. You should go subscribe over there as well. But let's get into it tonight.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Here's the story. We have this tweet from Nick Sorter. Breaking, Pam Bondi announces an arrest has been made for throwing a Molotov cocktail into a Tesla showroom. Let's roll the clip. This is from Fox Business earlier.
We have people we're locking up on that. We have someone in jail right now from one of the dealerships. They threw a Molotov cocktail through a dealership. They're looking at up to 20 years in prison. So if you're going to touch a Tesla, go to a dealership, do anything, you better watch out because we're coming after you. Wow. And if you're funding this, we're coming after you. We're going to find out who you are.
So, I mean...
Wow.
There's a lot of the framing that... So like the administration is doing things that I like and I agree with, but their messaging is just garbage sometimes. Like, this isn't about Tesla. Tesla's the target, but the reason these people are getting arrested is because it's actual terrorism. Not because, oh, you're going after Tesla. It should be because you're engaging in terrorism. The point is to make people afraid of either buying Tesla, and it's because of Musk's work. It's actually, the point is to make people afraid of supporting Elon Musk's work and Doge's work. So and that's the whole point.
So you think that her messaging here was actually poorly phrased?
Yes, I think, and they're also, this might be a topic that we talk about later, but the whole, the guy that's being sent to back, I think he's a Palestinian activist and stuff like that.
Mahmoud.
Like all of this stuff, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's anti-Semitism in there. He's attacking the Jews and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not good enough reason to send someone back. He's actually broken the law. That's why he's getting sent back, because he's taken over places on college campuses, being like, oh, well, he said something anti-Semitic. You can be anti-Semitic in America, and that's legal. That's perfectly fine. But it's like he's anti-West. He's totally against American.
Bring
American
it down to a
immigrants.
simmer.
So,
and then maybe be like, all right.
What the hell?
Love it.
I love it.
Talk to people. That happens.
Twitter does that.
Does that all the time. Love that.
We'll mute the whole of Twitter.
It'll always happen at like the most important point of your inflection too.
Yeah,
it's like, yes.
And this is the most important thing, and then Bill Burr comes on saying stupid-ish.
Stupid Bill.
Stupid Bill.
I mean, that's the point is their messaging sucks. And I don't know if it's that they're trying to placate certain groups or whatever, but it's like, look, you can't just throw people in jail because they don't like Israel or because they're saying anti-Semitic things. You can't throw people in jail because they don't like Tesla. If you firebomb a place, if you're making like for 20 years, you can go to jail for actual terrorism. So they're doing substantial things that are okay and right, but their messaging about it is just trash.
And
They're capitalizing on the fact that for the past 40 years with the Department of Education, we haven't been educating kids. So that way, when they do their messaging, it has to be dumbed down to such an extent that nobody actually knows that this is terrorism.
A lot of it is also like what headline is going to grab them the biggest headline for a lot of this stuff, and typical crime headlines aren't going to grab the same type of attention that stuff related to anti-Semitism and things like that are. I don't think they do.
But terrorism does.
I mean, even then, I don't know if that's necessarily going to grab the same headlines. People love arguing about wedge issues in identity politics more than just talking about terrorism.
Maybe you're right, but I hate it.
Yeah, well, I'm with you.
I mean, take that a step further. We spent the last 4 years where places like California and New York, if you shoplifted, which has always been a crime, right?
Yep.
Where you shoplift and it's under $1,000, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
At what point did the laws not matter to where we can dumb everything down like this?
Was this the case? Was the case you're talking about the one at Columbia where they were talking about revoking diplomas?
Well, he got wrapped up by
Yes.
by the feds
Yeah.
and they're articulating it poorly. They're saying you can't be anti-Semitic on school campuses and blah blah blah. And it's like, look, that stuff is protected by the First Amendment, right? And the First Amendment doesn't protect it. The First Amendment is a limit on what the government is allowed to do. So it's not like, oh, it's to protect people's free speech. It's saying, look, the federal government can't take action against you because you have an opinion that's unpopular. That's the point of it.
I'm going to pause you. Say that one more time, because I think this is something a lot of people don't understand. It's a limit on what?
Well, it's a limit on the federal government. That's the whole Bill of Rights is. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. Like, it's all things the government is specifically prohibited from doing.
And you could say that given her messaging here, it actually is horrible, given that a lot of people feel that Trump and Elon Musk's connection is too extensive to begin with. So framing it as we're coming after you because you're hurting a Tesla dealership rather than the fact that you're just committing crimes in general actually sends the wrong message to the people that are already against you.
How would the Trump administration do better, right? Pam Bondi is Pam Bondi. She's going to issue statements. Should she be giving the press release to a more savvy communicator?
Meaning like influencers to put out through social media?
Yes, people who can articulate it better than that.
I mean, most of the time, I feel like it comes back to what the headline ends up being for most of this stuff anyways. So the hard truth is that when you're in media, you go out of your way a lot of times to find a very, very heavy headline that is then articulated with more nuance in the actual article or the point of discussion. And whatever grabs headlines the most, when you're a media company, you're at the whim of needing to make money off of your headlines, and sometimes that does a disservice to the actual discussion.
I don't think that it's her ability to articulate the idea, because I think that she's articulating what she wants to, the message that she wants to get across well. I think that the message that they decided to push forward, to put to the front is a bad message.
So somebody should have been there to correct her. Somebody that works for her.
Specifically on Tesla.
Yeah.
Well, on Tesla and on the Hamas sympathizer guy. I mean, I'm all for kicking that dude out, right? If you don't love America and you come here and you got a green card and you hate the country and you want to help destroy Western society, beat it. I have no problem with that. But there's legal channels.
I mean, and if she wants to reach out and contract me for that service, I mean, I'll be happy to say the quiet part out loud for him.
That's very kind of you. But I mean, I don't think that the problem is the policy. It's all the messaging. I don't think
any of it matters. We did the culture war this morning with a pro and anti-Doge fellers, and I'm just like, the left has wielded unchecked power. Here's an example for you. Jenna Ellis being criminally charged with racketeering in Georgia. Yep. She's a lawyer. She was representing a client. Imagine if a guy like robs a liquor store and then gets arrested for it and then is like, I'm going to go get a lawyer. So he gets a lawyer, and then the police arrest the lawyer for aiding and abetting a criminal. That's what they did with Jenna Ellis. That's how psychotic the left was, the liberals were. It doesn't matter what Pam Bondi says. She could say Donald Trump is going to go out personally with a rifle and defend Tesla dealerships. And she could say we're deploying the National Guard. It doesn't matter. The left is going to keep doing what they do no matter what. They're going to attack different locations. They will escalate.
I mean, I already elected him once. You don't need to sell me on it.
Donald Trump's going to go march down Fifth Avenue himself to protect the streets and small businesses. The left would love that, actually. But in all seriousness, whatever the message is, the left doesn't care because they know. And it's fascinating to me that it's actually the right that doesn't seem to get this. Like, my point is, when we were having this debate in the morning on Doge, you have a guy who's like, Elon Musk is a threat to our democracy because he's going in and they're firing people and it's not allowed. And I'm just like, bro, if you really want to play the game of what's a threat to our democracy, the list of what the left did over the past 4 years is so long that it's almost a CVS receipt.
Yeah. Well, oh, my goodness.
At this point, though, the Constitution is a threat to their democracy.
Yeah. Indeed.
And most of the time when you see this stuff come up, they take advantage of the ignorance of the average everyday person who falls under like default liberal belief systems where maybe they're not politically inclined, but, you know, they've been living in America, which has been, you know, for the most part, becoming increasingly liberal over the last 20 years, or at least it seems that way with late into Obama's terms. And they take advantage of the fact that if you ask them right now who is more likely to commit acts of political violence, they would tell you right-wing people all the time, even though we understand that that is obviously not the truth.
Indeed. I think we're headed towards a civil war.
Shocking.
I wanted to make sure I got the buzzwords in as quickly as possible because it's 16 minutes and I felt like, you know,
you
was
asked the
burst
question.
on my
To
forehead.
get people drunk too.
You said you don't
Friday
think
night? Let's go.
You said like you don't think it matters because they know anyways, right? And then that's the type of thing where Mary said on the show today, like we were live, she's like, why are you trying to put logic onto something that has no logic behind it? And
exactly.
But a lot of people in this space, maybe it's because you're constantly putting your ideas out there and you're kind of wrestling with them on air, that it's your job in a way to try and bring logic to something that may not have anything to it. But
I want you all to imagine a podcast where Phil Labonte is sitting in a chair and across from him is a vampire and a zombie.
Dibs
And
on
the
zombie.
and the vampire is going, I'm going to drink people's blood no matter what. And then Phil's like, but you shouldn't do that. That violates the Constitution. And he's like, sure. And then the zombie goes, "Argh!" That's what it is. That's what we're doing. The zombie is going to do its thing. You're never convincing it. And the vampire's like, bro, this is what I am and this is what I want. There's not arguing with the impulse of the vampire. So I hope that was enjoyable for all of you. The Democrats are either vampires or zombies.
Vampires.
I think to be fair, I mean that was probably poor. I didn't want to get too esoteric with it, but I'll put it this way: the Democrats are more like there's liches and they're undead servants, and so the liches raise the zombies up and are conscious but evil. But there's few of them, and they have a lot of zombies you can't argue with.
So you're talking about a new video game idea, right?
Yes.
There you go.
And it's Donald Trump fighting the Lich King.
There you go.
And it's
I
Joe
think that'd be
Biden.
interesting.
Ooh, that'd be so good.
Joe Biden would definitely be an undead king. Undead.
And Trinidad Shabbat Pressure is the spell where he raised Trinidad Shabbat Pressure, and then all the zombies come out of the ground.
Perfect.
But what I mean is when I get silly with it is when you're talking to these Democrat personalities that are like, Elon Musk is a threat to our democracy. Trump was found guilty, liable of rape or whatever. It's like, bro, I know you know that's BS. It's like you know that New York didn't have any evidence, and you would never, in any other circumstance, take a 30-year-old allegation with no evidence and claim it was true.
Yep.
But because it's Trump, you do. Why are we arguing with someone who's willing to go to that extent? Let's just pause there. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden helped raise money for the defense of rioters in the 2020 riots, where 30-plus people were murdered. I shouldn't say murdered. 30-plus people died. I think like 20-some-odd murders. You had firebombing of the White House grounds. You had firebombing of St. John's Church. D.C. was ablaze, and Democrats know and do not care. And Republicans keep going like, why don't we warn them? Bro, if Pam Bondi comes out and she goes, we will use all force necessary in order to defend Tesla dealerships and small businesses, the left is not going to care.
Yeah, they don't. They destroyed. So in Minnesota, where I'm from, I watched businesses get burnt down and then put up signs complaining about getting burned down, despite the fact that they were part of the very system for all of the places that ended up causing that to happen. One of the things that was happening is graffiti was being done on all of the businesses in Uptown, and the city would come in and say, if you don't cover up the graffiti yourself, we are going to come in and do it for you, and it's going to cost you $700. Like, we're going to tax you to do that. And all of them put up signs saying, basically, please don't graffiti our building. We can't afford to pay it. The problem is all of those same people voted for exactly what they were getting in that area, and you can't convince them otherwise. They don't understand, or they're just not intelligent enough to see the...
Well, I mean, they're voting... They're not voting for those things. They're voting to allow those things.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're voting to put themselves in that position.
But the point that I'm making is, like, when they're actually casting their vote, that's not what they're thinking about, obviously. They're not thinking, oh, I want to have a DA, or I want this local government to not prosecute crime. It's
just crazy to me that the more times you go, as many times as you can go through it, that it doesn't cross your mind the next time you go to the ballot box.
It has to be tangible for people. It has to be personal. It has to be something that actually hurts them individually, and it has to be recent.
Let's jump to this next story. We have a tweet from Cat Turd. You heard it. His name is Cat Turd. Cat Turd, for those that don't know, he's a very prominent Trump supporter. Despite his silly name, he has 3.6 million followers. He tweeted, I was just swatted again for the fourth time. As I tweeted earlier, I live in the middle of nowhere and know all the cops here. They knew what it was immediately and just called me and sent one officer who had a great conversation with, really nice guy. I have the number they called from and will turn all the info over to the FBI today. My two swatters are sitting in prison. My last two swatters are sitting in prison right now. This new one will be joining them soon. Oh, yeah, never shutting up, and this doesn't faze me one bit. We also have this from Mike Engelman, who said at 5 a.m, good morning, everyone. Imagine my shocked face when I was woken up at 1:30 a.m. by law enforcement standing in front of my home, locked and loaded after a swatting attempt. I'm a nobody living in a sleepy community of 2,800 people, sleepless night in southern Indiana. Sheriff Department and state police arrived at my home a little after 1:30 a.m. this morning. They rang the doorbell, started my wife. I got up, went to the door, saw someone on my front porch, turned the outside lights on, and noticed county sheriff deputies and state police locked and loaded. A 911 caller with an 869 area code reported that I was holding people hostage at gunpoint in my house and that he had shot and killed his daughter, who was upstairs. The weird thing was the 911 caller was still on the line with dispatch, providing false information with the cops as they were talking to me. We don't have an upstairs. My daughter hasn't lived here in over 20 years. Wow. Once assured everything was fine, I said, this is what they call swatting. Explained it to them. They asked if I had any idea who would do this, and I said no. Did inform them that it's happening all over America. I asked them to please find out who it was. I was assured they would. Well, I'm sorry, they can't. It took a bit to calm my wife down. She has a heart condition, but it's all good now. Godspeed. I have a great relationship with local law enforcement in the area, and I know all the cops. Needless to say, I didn't sleep at all afterwards. I kept wondering who would do this to a small, sleepy community. Well, good sir, you have got 220,000 followers on X. That's why. Kash Patel, FBI director, tweeted this morning. I want to address the alarming rise of swatting incidents targeting media figures. The FBI is aware of this dangerous trend, and my team and I are already taking action to investigate and hold those responsible accountable. This isn't about politics. Weaponizing law enforcement against any American is not only morally reprehensible, but also endangers lives, including those of our officers. That will not be tolerated. We are fully committed to working with local law enforcement to crack down on these crimes. More updates to come. The reason why I say they can't is that most of the time, I'll put it this way. There was a swatter who was arrested. Jeremy from the Quartering said they got my swatter. I had journalists tell me, Tim, that was your swatter. I say, that's not true. I believe the man they arrested was essentially a hitman. That is, people who wanted a swatting done would outsource it to an individual, provide the information, he would make the phone call. So that technically makes him the swatter, but it mostly makes him just the hatchet man. Yeah. I want to know who provided the information and directed him to do it. Stopping that guy does not stop the harassment at all. So when it may be that someone was stupid enough to do this wave of swattings across the country with their own phone number. Really doubt it. They could easily, in many ways, get phone numbers. And the worst thing is, it could be AI voices generated from apps, and people are doing it overseas. So it is very, very difficult to find out who is doing this. I think they will find some of these people. But like I mentioned, the people they arrest aren't actually the core individuals providing this information for the most part. So we shall see. We shall see. But I'm glad everyone is okay. I think that with the wave of videos we've seen on social media, TikTok, X, wherever, not so much X, where these people are just screaming, do it over and over again. And it is implied everybody following them knows what it means. Yeah. Look, it's one thing when one guy goes online and says, I'm going to, or someone should do thing, right? The police go and arrest them, or the person gets banned. What we have now is a zeitgeist. It is a trend. It is the modern leftist culture. It is the liberal establishment. I'm not talking about politicians. I'm saying in the core of liberal social orthodoxy right now, the viral trend is calling for terrorist action and assassinations. Now we're seeing these swattings. I believe these swattings are an outpouring of You've got tens of millions or hundreds of millions of views already on people posting videos screaming, do it, and things like that. Or people like Bill Burr saying, let me tell you about Bill Burr, and then we'll get into this in a second. Bill Burr said people should do bad thing to insert individuals. He then said free Luigi. He is advocating for to millions of people. And you need to understand, Bill Burr is not a random Twitter personality, a random social media guy whose name is Dogfart. He is a high-profile liberal comedian on primetime television shows and some of the world's largest podcasts. He represents your average liberal, not leftist progressive. And he's calling for murder explicitly. Bill Burr explicitly called for murder and assassination. I'm not kidding. Now you are seeing the lowest tier of this. I said it yesterday. I said it the day before. This summer is going to be messed up. So everyone, please take your security seriously.
Yeah, I mean, everyone should obviously take their security seriously. I think that, you know, but again, the problem that arises when it comes to this kind of swatting stuff is you're not going to defend yourself against the police. That leads to you getting killed. Yeah. And that's all there is to it. Like, you're not going to, you know, you're not.
That's not the issue at all. The issue is you need to, if you are at high risk, if you are a media personality with a degree of followers, you call the local police department and say, I want to make you guys aware there's a series of swattings that are happening across the country, presumably coming from left-aligned and liberal-aligned individuals that have been calling for murder and death. They may call you with false reports regarding me, etc. This is the first thing you do. And you look, this guy, Mike, has a couple 100,000 followers. Not nothing. But it's not like he's captured with 3.6, right? They are targeting a lot of people. That is the purpose of terrorism. I remember when we had these big terror alerts back in the 2000s. Not that I believe the Bush administration, but they mentioned that the high alerts were for rural and small towns because terrorists want to target not big areas, small areas, because they want people that when it comes to terror, when it comes to the left, the reason why during the Summer of Love they went to small towns is because if they stay in big cities, people who live in small towns feel safe. They feel like if I get away from the cities, I'll be safe. So the far left extremists explicitly went to small towns, smashed up windows and businesses and things like this. I don't know how much of that was just more of emergent outpouring versus organization. My point is simply, if you have a small amount of followers relative to other people, they may target you because they want everyone on the right to be terrified.
Well, yeah, the whole point of terrorism in that respect is you get people to change their behaviors. And if somebody says, look, I've got this many thousand followers and I've got this thing to say and something like this happens, they may think twice before posting something at some point. And that's a very, very easy way to get somebody to change their behavior, change their habits.
Well, I think summer's going to get hot.
And we went through this. I mean, we went through this at the old location. Oh, like it was literally the first time it happened. I was literally walking back inside and then we had guns on us. Me and Andy back then.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You and Andy, the cops pointed guns at you, and then you were like, what did you do? Like, you walked forward with your hands up or something?
Oh, yeah. It's,
Wow, that was crazy.
and as soon as we talked to them, we knew exactly what it was because we know what swatting is. They didn't understand what it was.
This is right. It was kind of funny, though, because if you SWAT some dude at his house, this is what happens. They get a megaphone, they're at the house, come out with your hands up. The people come out backwards, they walk backwards. When we got SWATted the first time, it's a 10,000 square foot building on top of a hill with employees walking around doing things. And the cops pull up and they're like, what are all these guys walking around doing?
Well, yeah.
And what did he do? Like, had his gun out of the car or something, right?
Yeah, they were, over the hang of the door. And me and Andy.
Wait, the door was open?
Yeah. And me and Andy were like, what the hell is going on?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what did he tell you to do?
He walked towards him very slowly, and then we
With your hands
as soon
up?
as as soon as he started explaining to us what was going on, it's like, okay, they're upstairs doing a show right now, and this is not real. But what do you even do? Like at that was before we had armed security.
Right. And now we do.
Yes.
And they have guns.
Yep.
There's a series of things you can do to mitigate swattings that I won't say publicly because, for obvious reasons, you don't want to upend your security. One thing I have no problem saying, though, is you are largely SWAT-proof if you are hiring a private security company. Most people can't do that.
Well, it's
It's
the thing, like
ridiculously
they're not,
expensive.
They're not targeting people who are at a large compound with tons of employees who have armed security on the premise.
Exactly.
All of these people have something in common. I was at home in a small town with my wife and kids, and again, like I said before, a lot of these people wield incredible influence. But if you target them at home, where their loved ones are at risk, it makes people who are doing this for a living think twice about saying what they mean, and that is the definition of terrorism.
Yeah. Indeed. When they first swatted us, again, like, it was Brett and Andy were outside and they walked towards the car. But weren't you skating, or you guys were skating?
We just got done skating. So we were at the, people might not know what the geography is, but there was the barn park that was off-site, like next door. So I was walking back inside.
So there's the main building, which is about 10,000 square feet. It's a massive building. And when you walk up, you can see it. And then straight to the right is a 70-foot wide pole barn with skate ramps in it. And then the whole parking lot had, I don't know if at the time we had this, we might have had the garden.
It might have still been the mini chicken
chickens.
coop at the top.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and there was a garden there. Actually, no, I don't think. No, it didn't. It didn't. It had we had concreted already.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do the concrete because I remember when the bomb squad showed up with the machines.
Yep.
It was all open space, and so we have ramps out there too, so you could be skating the whole parking lot. Like for us, what saved the show from having the door kicked in is that we have employees. So when they show up, it's Brett and Andy standing there being like, "What's going on?" And the cops were probably confused because the calls they do for swatting, I think it was a hostage thing. And they're like, there's two guys just standing outside, like, chilling.
Like, imagine me any other time my headphones are in both ears. They're like, what's up? I'm like, what? No idea what's going on right now. Just got very lucky that time. And then there was Chaircast not that long after that when there actually was the event.
That was I think that was the last swatting.
Yeah.
Where, I don't want to. So let me put it this way: we largely mitigate potential swattings. What happens now usually is the cops do perimeter sweeps because it happens so many times, and our security guards just send us a notice. So it happens. We don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
And so it'll be like, heads up, we got swatted again, and it's just literally at this point it means nothing to us.
And it encourages it if you keep talking about it publicly.
At this point, it doesn't matter though because
if it interrupts the show, it does.
It can't anymore.
No, I'm saying, but that it encourages people if it interrupts the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have a private security company, you can't be swatted because the police work with private security contractors and they know who they are and they have direct lines of communication. So if any one of these guys, like Cat Turd, at his house had private security contractors. If like, just put it this way, a lot of these guys are off-duty cops or retired cops, and they have direct lines to the police. They go to the same poker games. Mm-hmm. So when someone tries to SWAT you, they just say, like, you get a phone call and they're like, "I'm at this address doing this thing." They go, "Oh yeah, Jim works there. He's there right now. I actually dropped him off. Nice try, buddy." Mm-hmm. That makes no sense. So for everybody else, they're going after. They're clearly targeting small homes, and that's why they went after Nick Sorter's family.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's just it. So, like, I understand for podcasts this size or Cat Turd or even Mike Engelman there, they have a following. For someone like myself, I have a couple thousand people following me, and yes, that could still happen to me. So that is a concern when I'm hearing these stories. At what point do I look at different ways to secure myself within my means?
That's why I was saying that the first thing you should do is call your local police department and say, hey, I have a small following with the wave of swattings going on. I wanted to come in. You know, what we did was before, when we were in New Jersey, and before, this is like the early days, this is actually before Timcast IRL. So this is a fascinating bit of Timcast history. Before the launch of Timcast IRL, the Tim Pool Daily Show in the mornings was the 34th biggest podcast in the world. It is nowhere near that anymore because when we launched IRL, it sort of, everybody moved over. I guess that's how it happens. And we reduced volume. But at the time, I went to the police station, which hilariously was 1 block from my house. And I just said, hey, my name's Tim. I've got a couple million followers. Just want to let you guys know that I live down the street. Here's my address. In the event of any swatting, here's my cell number. Literally, it's me, a roommate. We make YouTube videos. If anyone calls out about family, wife, hostages, not real. And they were like, we get it. We know what swattings are. And never had a problem. When we first moved to the castle, we did the same thing. We didn't go and show up, though. After we got swatted, we were like, time to hire private security. We actually had a guy break into the house, too. Yep. Like, I say break in. It is burglary, but he didn't break anything. He walked in the building and was not allowed to. He bypassed a barrier and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, policies changed after that.
Policies then became much more secure, and now we have a perimeter barrier and guys with rifles.
I mean, that was crazy because that was like he just shows up in the main living room area, like the main area.
Yeah, we shouldn't get into it.
Yeah,
we shouldn't. Yeah. But let's just say people have committed crimes. Yeah. And the funny thing is, you know what's really funny? We don't work at that studio anymore. Yeah. Right? There's nothing there. It's a private residence now. It's being rented. And people still show up there because they don't know. And one guy showed up and physically attacked one of our employees. We still own the property, but now there's neighbors and their private residencies. And then some crazy leftist, a guy in a dress, beat up one of our employees. It's crazy. So it's kind of nuts. We had at the old property, not so much since we moved, because this is I guess I would describe this a compound, you know? Yeah. A fortified, multi-building, massive property with armed guards. But the other property was just like a big house. People still to this day drive up and sit at the base for just like 10, 15 minutes, get out of the car and stand and get out of the car and just stand staring up the hill. And it's the weirdest thing. And even after we warned people that we have armed security and
in elevated shooting positions,
but that is a fact, and that we've conferred with local police and federal authorities, and we've actually put up all the requisite legal signs and everything and physical barriers, people would still try and go up to the house. And then they would discover a man standing there with a rifle trained on them, shocked to find that when you jump a barricade that says, like, do not enter this property, you know, armed security guards will defend themselves. People are like, whoa, there's a guy there with a gun. And it's like, turn around now and leave.
So what type of federal resources is Kash Patel going to put into place to even look into stuff like this?
Apparently none.
Yeah.
He says they're committed to working with local law enforcement.
But I'm saying, like, would that just be him and somebody that he works with overseeing consistent calls to the places that have had these swattings, like to Nick's order?
I mean, I assume he'll have some resources for them, which is, I don't mean to be crass when I say none. I imagine what they're going to be able to offer up is interstate data. So the swatters probably don't live in the states where the swattings are happening, making it very difficult for local law enforcement. With Kash now engaged, he can contact each local department and say, we can take this to the federal level and get you the data you need. We will fast track you for interstate law enforcement.
Oh, you mean the actual case for federal law enforcement in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. Bang. Let's jump to this next story from Mediaite. Bill Burr torches Elon Musk and his piece of ish car after being told he's trending for slamming the billionaire. Nerds ruining the world. Bill Burr is a despicable, silly man. He has great presentation, though. I can't fault him. He really knows how to present anything in a way that is funny. He is the human embodiment of ow my balls. That being said, he's a scumbag. And look at this. Look at this. You see this? See the video playing? Twitter tried to play the video when we weren't using the tab. I muted it. Yep. How dare you? Let me play some clips for you.
I mean, I if I was running shit, I would shut down CNN, Fox News, and you would no longer be able to comment on stuff on the internet. And then I would just leave it at that and let the, bring it down to a simmer. And then maybe be like, all right, talk to people. How do you want to live? What works for you? And try to I don't know. I mean, I
see this. This is what I would describe as dangerously stupid.
Yes.
Yep. He doesn't know anything about civics, politics, social behaviors. And so his idea is if we shut down people's ability to get things off their chest, maybe then it will simmer down. I have news for you, good sir. It will result in bombs going off.
He also proudly talks about how he doesn't know what's going on and how he doesn't pay attention to the news.
What I don't get,
pay attention
what I don't get is the amount of veterans that people in the armed services that died trying to stop Hitler, and then this guy comes in, and does that while being an immigrant too, which is kind of the whole thing. Just none of it tracks how you can be.
Maybe you're wrong about.
It's almost like you're wrong.
Idiot.
Yep.
Unreal.
He's going after Elon, saying he did a sea. He didn't. Like, the funny thing is, these people will take literally anything. Any position your arm is in, even if it's the wrong arm, even if you don't do the... So just so people know this, the Nazi salute is a heel click, hand to the chest, arm straight forward and slightly angled up. Elon did not do that. He did grab his chest, but then his arm went directly to his right side and outward, which is literally not a Nazi salute, nor did he shout out Hitler. Bill Burr is a prominent mainstream liberal who has said he believes people should take the lives of other of wealthy individuals. He has praised Luigi Mangione on more than one occasion and called for him to be released. We are looking at a prominent mainstream liberal social orthodoxy advocating for violence and murder. There was that clip we played last week from Adam Conover's show where a woman said they polled attendees of the Women's March, or was it the Women's March? Something like that, of a big Democrat protest, and found 1/3 believed that violence was justified to stop Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They always believe that.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
The left believes violence is justified to achieve whatever goal they have in mind, whether it's to stop Donald Trump, whether it's to stop Elon Musk. It doesn't matter. It's always acceptable to use violence. If violence is, well, if they, whatever the issue is.
Ends justify the means. That's one of the most annoying parts about all this. It's funny because that's a trope that's so popular in Hollywood, is to talk about stories that discuss the idea of the ends justifying the means, but they really do believe that they are so right and so true and so on the right side of history that whatever they must do in service of their cause is okay. And to most normal people, and I'm not even talking about, and that's kind of what Tim, you said, that he is now your typical liberal orthodoxy coming out.
Well, he's a famous celebrity.
Exactly. So
I mean, look at this. The Mediaite story on him has 4,895 comments. So I can't speak to Mediaite's readership, but I can extrapolate, at least based off a YouTube video, and say that that probably means, actually, let me jump over here and see what we got. I'd estimate 500,000 views to potentially 1 million on this article about Bill Burr, not Bill Barr. That's how famous he is. And his view is that nerds are bad. Take a look at this. He doubles down on Free Luigi. Yo, Luigi Mangione is alleged to have murdered a man in cold blood. After this happened, Bill Burr said that it was a good thing and should happen more. This is the mainstream liberal worldview. I'm going to play this video for you guys. I don't know if I want to play it. I'll play a little bit of it.
I don't give a fuck. Just kill.
I'm going to stop it there because you can infer what she's going to say next, and I don't want to play that clip. Yeah. So these videos, that video of that woman, that's a random woman. Every day, I got somebody here at Timcast posting in our internal chat or sending to me and being like, look at this. And it's some random nobody on
Yelling in their
TikTok
car.
saying to go and engage in this action. So that woman needs to be arrested and perp walked. And Cash and Pam need to hold a press conference, as they do, and say, if you do this, we will arrest you. Every single one. Because the issue is, it is a social orthodoxy. These people, many of them, are not doing it because they know Bill Burr is as dumb as a box of rocks. And I'm sad to say that because I didn't want to offend rocks. But Bill Burr is very stupid. He's a very stupid man, okay? He's funny. He has some of the best presentation in comedy. But he is dangerously stupid in advocating for murder and violence without understanding how the world operates. He's not doing it because he genuinely feels in his heart of hearts, based on research and strong, well-put thought. He's doing it because everyone around him is just going, bark, 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 and he's balking along with them. You stop it by arresting them. Now, Bill Burr nearly crossed the line when he advocated that people should do a thing to billionaires and then said free Luigi. But that's not creating an imminent threat. That woman did, which said, go do it.
Yep.
It's also it's also disconnected because it's not like the guy involved in the Luigi Mangione case was a billionaire. He was a millionaire who worked for a billion-dollar institution in healthcare, right? So between that and the fact that Bill Burr, in a lot of cases, is probably the most dangerous type for this type too, because he is, like Tim said, he is a good communicator. He gets his point across in an entertaining way, and he gets it across to people who are mentally ill and dysregulated, like this woman who is very clearly off her rocker
Bill Burr's only
and radicalized.
Allegedly only is worth $20 million, and the CEO of United Healthcare was worth $40 million. So according to the leftists that say, that would say it's acceptable to kill rich people, Bill Burr's right in that.
Well, their logic would be that he was working for a billion-dollar institution that they believe is destroying America.
Did they ever take down the podcast where he did that? Because
probably not.
On his podcast where he advocated for people to go and take the lives of others, that's against the rules of every single platform, even Rumble, even X. You cannot do that because there's what's funny is people need to understand insurance companies run the world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and let me say, here's the solution. Make asylums great again.
Wait, wasn't that something that Vivek was running on for his upcoming?
They're gonna 5150 Bill Burr because he's a danger to himself and others.
Well, I mean, the other lady is somebody that also likely needs to be 5150. There's a huge issue with that in this country right now.
For the past 15 years, all of the power structures, all of the media, everything out there has told Bill Burr what he's saying is perfectly acceptable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats never actually face any accountability. I will say, though, guys, I have to say this. He has probably one of the best presentations in comedy.
Oh, absolutely.
He's funny, but it sucks because this is not funny. When he tells jokes, he's got the best way of telling stories in a way that makes you laugh, and that's why he's so good at what he does. Then when he starts reading this gobbledygook garbage where he starts advocating for violent death and murder, it's like, bro, it's not funny anymore. Like you're talking in a weird way about people dying, and I don't like it.
Phil brought up his net worth versus the CEO, or was it the CEO? Was he the CEO? The
I believe Bill Burr has half the net worth.
Okay, so he brought that up, and you'd think that at some point during his speech about Free Luigi, he would consider like the second step of thinking, like, well, this guy wasn't a billionaire, or did he just assume that this guy who worked for this company was also a billionaire? And the fact that we talk about now that, and this is all over Hollywood,
It doesn't matter.
No, Brett,
I know that it doesn't matter.
You are not thinking of the second step.
Okay.
You just played yourself.
Explain it.
Bill Burr did think ahead. He said, these people on social media want to murder the rich, and they're starting to do it.
Yeah.
I better join their side before they come after me. He knows he's one of them. He wants to make sure that when it all goes down, what do you mean?
Well,
I told you to do it. I'm on your side.
He's
The
looking
worst-
for insurance about that. But at the end of the day, if you're dealing with people that are willing to kill someone because they perceive them as being the other for being rich, even if most of the people are in some way in on the story and understand that Bill Burr is on their team and stuff, all it takes is one person that isn't read into the theory to be like, oh, well, this guy is also the rich guy.
He works in an industry that is now
For someone to
capped
not
that
know who
list.
he is.
He works in an industry that is now capped that list at billionaire. Remember, we'd make the joke about Bernie Sanders. Millionaires is only you don't mention millionaires.
He stopped saying millionaires
Okay.
as soon as he became one.
So now every TV show that criticizes rich elites, it actually uses billionaire with a capital B. Like I mentioned in the show Paradise, they literally call them the billionaires. Like they're working with the billionaires because they're
can't watch that
capping it.
show.
They're capping it at the idea that billionaire is an other. It's somebody that you're allowed to other and turn into some type of target because they see them as less than human because they believe that they've harmed them in some way.
I can't watch Paradise.
Yeah. Didn't like it?
It's because James Marsden was killed in the first 5 minutes. I turned it off.
They also the sad
I was
thing
like,
is-
James, no!
The sad thing also is like he ends up being like this really, really awesome, layered, sympathetic character, but they make him into such a piece of crap at the beginning at his first interaction with Sterling K. Brown's
I
character.
don't like the time jumping.
Yeah. And the color, like there should have been a solid color differential between the flashbacks and the present day, and they didn't do that.
Let's jump to this next story, ladies and gentlemen. This may terrify many of you, but it appears that Democrats have learned to communicate from beyond the grave. Social media erupts over Congressman's reaction to Trump job cuts after his death. Heavens me. Raul M. Grijalva was able to send this message on social media despite the fact he died. Well, I can say this. Maybe he scheduled the post, or maybe other people have been posting for politicians the whole time, and that's probably the case. Media reports Democratic Congressman Raul Grijalva decried President Donald Trump's move to cut thousands of jobs at the U.S. Department of Education in a long post on X Thursday, but there was one problem. He was dead. The post from his official X account posted at 3:16 p.m. Thursday slammed the president's decision, but Grijalva had died in the morning, according to a statement from his family that read, the office of the 7th District of Arizona is saddened to announce the passing of Congressman Raul M. Grijalva. He fought a long and brave battle. He passed away this morning due to complications of his cancer treatments. In all seriousness, I am sad to hear this man passed away, and I hope the best for his family. I do not respect, however, those who are impersonating his account and posting on his behalf.
So staffer or a scheduled post.
Even Andy Kaczynski of CNN says, amazing someone thought to hit the send button after he died on this. Totally wild. There was a weekend at Bernie's going on. Look at this. Absolutely crazy. They had already published the statement on his death and then 2 hours later made the post. That's crazy, man.
Isn't it possible that it was scheduled?
Perhaps, indeed. Maybe, and if that's the case, I would say it is light mismanagement.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that was the case. I think there's likely social media interns who have access to the accounts. We've seen it time and time again where an individual will, like Walmart will tweet something like "end the Fed." I wish it was actually something more leftist. Like,
yes.
And then you're like, oh, it's the intern who runs the Walmart social media accidentally opened the account. I think likely what happened is that somebody who wasn't privy to his passing in the morning wrote that up and sent it later in the day.
No, I think we got it all wrong here, Tim. What this is this was a story that was intended for the Babylon Bee, and the headline should have actually been Elon Musk delivers first batch of Starlink to heaven.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Or like Neuralink. Somehow like there were still random synapses firing in his brain and he type it out.
I feel like the Babylon Bee can't do it now, but it would have been great if the Babylon Bee had an article where it was like, Democrats' research in necromancy prevails as Congressman is able to condemn Trump from beyond grave.
Nice.
How hard is it to? I've never scheduled a post on X. Is that something?
I want to be nice. I am sad to hear that this man passed away. I'm very saddened by this. There was another congressman who passed shortly after Donald Trump gave his presentation. So I will simply say this: Raul Grijalva was looking down as he was concerned of Trump and sent one last tweet. Rest in peace, brother. I may not like the Democrats, but, people dying of cancer is never fun.
Nope.
Never funny.
Not at all.
But interns posting I don't know how this happened. I hope it was a scheduled post.
I'm going to schedule
But I don't know why he would schedule a post like that.
I'm going to schedule a post for like 75 years from now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, who did this? There have been people who have scheduled scheduled posts. Did McAfee do this? No, he didn't do this.
Oh, the one about McAfee saying, I remember that. What you're talking
People record videos and then schedule them 2 weeks in advance, and then every week change the date. That way, if anything happens to them, the video gets released.
Yeah, it's like a dead man switch.
Well,
Right.
Wasn't there a thing built into Facebook at one point in time that you could actually have it set up so annually it would post on your birthday?
I have no idea. Doesn't Facebook have like a death coordinator thing where like upon death, someone else gains access to your account or something?
Family members.
They do now because
Yeah.
there was actual legal issues behind that a few years back where they actually had to say, a family member said, no, this Facebook account needs to be shut down. They have died.
Yeah.
And Facebook's like, no, we own that account.
You know what's funny is in all these movies, you ever notice in like in a movie even today, someone will get a phone call and then you'll hear a line click and a dial tone.
Yeah.
They still do the dial.
They still do the dial tone. And I think it's funny because it's a cell phone and then they'll be talking and it'll be like, you have 3 hours, click. And
Everybody knows the three
So-
beeps that you hear with
Right. So my point is these are anachronisms. They don't exist in modern day. So when we watch movies and whenever they have a will reading scene, it's like they all sit down and they're like, to John, I leave $1 million to marry my Corvette. Actually, what probably is going on now, it's like, to my son, I give you my passwords to all of my accounts on my computer, and I ask that you delete my browsing history and purge the hard drive.
You know what other one they always do is you'll see somebody put a Glock in someone's face and you'll hear a hammer pull back. Even though
Yep,
there's
always.
No,
Oh, God.
Right. Okay,
I mean,
I got to say this because I know Phil is going to agree. In every movie, every time a gun is shown, even with no action, the hammer's pulled. The gun is cocked. It's like, you know what I want to see? I want to see a movie just one time. Anyone do this? Where when they hand a gun to a character who's like someone will be like, you gotta use one of these, and they'll be like, I can figure it out. What I want to happen is when they're about to fight, he goes to cock the gun and it ejects around.
Yeah.
Yes. What? That would be great.
I've seen it where, they'll do that. The guy will hand the gun, he'll rack it, hands it to the next guy, and then he'll rack it again. No rounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Nothing ejects.
I just want to see the bullets come flying.
It's funnier when they do it with like pump action shotguns. And
Yeah,
it's because it's used as an inflection point. It's like, that's why you gotta stop.
That-
And then he just keeps doing it.
That and they have the most awesome 6-shooters ever in Hollywood.
Yeah.
All of this conversation here is exactly why so many people were so quick to jump on the John Wick is amazing.
Because they knew.
Because the editor was counting rounds in magazines or counting rounds and they were reloading. You didn't have him shooting, 500 rounds from the gun. They were going 15 rounds reload, 15 rounds reload.
And more importantly, in all these action movies, you've got the guy going like this, running, and then going like this, or like this. Keanu Reeves was actually handling his weapon properly, and you can watch him do it on his Instagram too.
There's actually a line in the very first episode of Person of Interest where a guy's holding a gun like that. He's like, if you shoot that, that's going to eject a casing like right in your face, right? But I still want to point out there is still a big flaw in the first John Wick when he switches from his Glock or from his P30L to his Glock, and then suddenly he's a stormtrooper and he can't hit anything. he's shooting at the
other guy had plot armor.
He was behind. He was like on glass. He misses him from glass 10 feet away. Then he gets a headshot on a dude who's like 30 feet upstairs. It's like, so why couldn't you use that here? But I'll give it, he shot separate hands, so he moved from left hand to right hand. So I'm like, I'll give the director the benefit of the doubt and assume that he went to offhand. I don't know why he would do that, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Also, he would have had his back broken when he fell off that balcony onto his Glock.
To be fair, if you really want to get into it, no man is going to storm the gates, take out 50 people. I do love how every movie is like this. Every show, like I was watching Squid Games 2, which sucked, by the way. And it's just like, here's 70 bad guys and 3 good guys, and the 3 good guys just keep plowing through them.
Well, no,
the bad guys have no training.
The trope is always that, like in the movies, everybody's behind a car and shooting, and the bad guy stands up into full view so the guy can shoot him. It's like, just don't do that.
Except I just watched. Have you seen the Gifted?
No.
That's it's from 2017, and it was a Marvel X-Men.
That was the
based
Hulu
show.
one, yeah.
Was it Hulu?
It was. It went to Hulu after network.
Yeah, it's on Disney,
Yeah.
and it was an okay show. But there's a scene where all the good guys are doing that. The bad guys are the white supremacists, but it's not about white people; it's about mutants. And so they come with a bunch of guns, and all of the good guys are just standing up for no reason, getting shot. And it's just like you could go behind that rock, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
Don't hide behind a car either. Bullets go through cars pretty well.
engine block. In one of the
place.
first things they
But
teach
even
you.
still, cars are bullet magnets. Cars are bullet magnets. Get away from the car. No
But
kidding.
in hostile environment training, they teach if you have to duck behind a car, it must be the engine block.
Yes.
Yes.
Because people think that thin aluminum is going to protect you. It is not. But in movies, they do it. Like the cops open the door and then crouch
The
behind
door.
it.
They're standing behind the door.
I watched.
It's like 1 millimeter of thin aluminum.
Right.
I watched a worse one the other day where a guy he actually drops beneath the door to shoot someone. Like you just exposed your entire body to whoever's there.
That's just it. So you say don't stand behind the car because you're going to get shot. Honestly, I see someone duck behind a car, I'm firing rounds off the
Under the
pavement.
yeah, they will skip
Well,
right into
to
them.
be fair, in the movies they do that. That is pretty common where the guy falls down and then shoots underneath the car.
Yeah, but for the person crouching still, I can fire a round
right,
off
right,
the
right.
pavement. And I know this is going to sound
away.
John
Terrible
Wick
car.
can fire a round right off the pavement.
I know this because my cousin died at the age of 12 because this happened.
Yeah, don't mess around with guns, people. You got to get proper training.
Unless
and insurance.
or in Wanted, where you make the bullet curve.
Oh God!
I love. Yeah, you whip your arm, and then that makes literally no sense. But that movie was
Who
awesome.
cares? It was awesome. That's the thing, though. Like everybody's obsessed with realism right
And then
now. I don't want it to be real. I want to see the bullet curve.
Angelina Jolie whips the bullet and it goes all the way around everybody, and then her. Dude, that movie was so. But I loved it. That movie was funny.
Amazing. I said, everybody's too worried about realism now. Sometimes you just curve the bullet.
All right, let's jump to this next story. For this next story, we bring you to Reddit. It's our good friend David Peckman. I'm not saying this to drag David Peckman personally because he did not post this, but over on the subreddit for David Peckman's followers don't know that Anonymous isn't a group of people. They posted, Anonymous claims 2024 election interference and election fraud. I'm going to play the video for you. First, it's 2 minutes. Take a listen.
Greetings, users of TikTok. You may have noticed disruptions across your social media platforms. It began with Twitter and is now extended to Snapchat. These platforms are struggling to maintain stability due to targeted and strategic actions against their systems. Know this. This is only the beginning. They may regain control temporarily, but their infrastructure will continue to falter over and over again. You may be asking, why is this happening? The answer is clear. Social media wields immense influence, not just in the United States, but across the globe. Elon Musk understood this power and exploited it, aligning himself with Donald Trump to manipulate the outcome of the 2024 presidential election.
Oh,
We have investigated. We have seen the evidence. The 2024 election was not free from interference. We can say with certainty that data was altered to secure a victory for Donald Trump. Key swing states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Michigan, experienced database breaches within ballot counting systems. Do you believe this is coincidence? But the manipulation did not stop there. Musk weaponized Twitter's reach to spread misinformation, feeding the public artificial threats and fabricated narratives designed to influence voter decisions. This is why social media platforms now find themselves in turmoil. Twitter and its leadership directly interfered in democracy, not just in the presidential election, but in elections across the country. And yet, other platforms stood by in silence. Their inaction makes them complicit. They continue to suppress the truth. They continue to censor reality. Let it be known, as long as they remain complicit, their systems will remain unstable. Only when they uphold the rights of the people, only when they allow the truth to be told, will they regain control. To the CEOs of these platforms, do what is right. If you will not serve the people, you do not deserve to be available to the people. To the remaining social media platforms, take heed. What is happening to Twitter and Snapchat is not an isolated event. It is a warning. You have enabled deception, profited from manipulation, and stood idle as the truth was buried. That time is over. If you continue down this path, you will share their fate. You are being watched. Your silence will not protect you. Your compliance will not absolve you. Make your next moves carefully. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
So let me show you some of the responses here on this Reddit. The claims of Anonymous aside, Donald is clearly in debt to Elon for something. Moving on. I'm hoping they use TikTok because of its reach. They are spot on about Musk. The only thing I don't like about Anonymous shutting down social media apps, air the proof. I want to see the proof. Kind of wild to think any legit Anonymous member, there are blah, blah, blah. The point is, Anonymous never was a group of people. It is not. To this day is still not. And this is a perfect example, not of Anonymous and stuff. It is that these people don't actually know anything about what's going on. So for us here, for instance, and for you watching, you watching are all likely more informed because we who produce these shows are more informed. So I will tell you, the phrase anonymous comes from 4chan. When you post on the message board, your name appears as the word anonymous. These people are referred to as anons. 4chan would engage in mischief. What would happen basically is somebody would make a post on 4chan saying, hey, everyone, we should go do this thing. If nobody really cared, the post slowly disappears. But every time someone replies to the post, it gets bumped and moves to the top. This resulted in online pranks from people who largely didn't pay attention. There's one man who saw one of these campaigns. It said, download an app called a program at the time, we didn't say app, Low Orbit Ion Cannon, which allows you to engage in what's called the denial of service attack. This guy had no idea what any of this meant, downloaded the program. It said, type in this IP and press go. And he went, sure. And then he left. He had no idea what was going on. He went to prison. He got in serious trouble. I think he got like 2 years. That is who, quote unquote, anonymous is. A random guy who was told by a stranger on the internet. The video that you just watched that they believe is real is a 15-year-old video of a guy wearing a Guy Fawkes mask and a hoodie, and it's probably only 10 seconds of him bobbing his head up and down, and then it loops. The voice is clearly AI generated. What they used to do is just general voice changers. Anonymous, when anyone ever said, anonymous threatens X, they literally mean the true definition of the word anonymous. Replace that word with random guy. So let's now apply that to this video. David Pakman's show on Reddit, the post says, random guy claims 2024 election interference and election fraud. When you hear that, you go, oh, well, who cares what some random guy thinks? In the video, they're trying to take credit for taking down Twitter, X, and Snapchat. Objectively false. It is a random person who made a random video, and liberals think it's real. And what's going to happen is your liberal aunt is going to be like, did you hear that hacker group said that they have proof Trump stole the election?
You mean unanimous?
And don't forget, Trump supporters played a very, very similar game with Donald Trump back in 2020.
It's just
unanimous.
Stupid. It's just stupid.
Mostly people who just remember watching Mr. Robot. That's what they're...
Well, I mean, what's fascinating is the anonymous stuff was 15 years ago. Yeah. And I'll let you guys in on a secret to all the people. How do I know these things? I know most of those people. In the IRC chats, I used to hang out at the hackerspaces. We know the people who are working these activist groups. There was a hacker group called Telecomics that I was friends with many of these guys. They did operations for communications in the Arab Spring with protests. There were two operations, quote unquote, anonymous. A group of random people on various IRCs would shared something they called Black Facts. It was Operation Black Facts. It was viral on 4chan. What it did was that someone got a list of all of the phone numbers in Egypt. And I'm not sure what other country, might have been Libya. And posted it and said, everyone fax these numbers, black pieces of paper. What that will do is it will run all of the ink or whatever in the machines. It'll burn them out. And so they burned all the machines out. Telecomics got into a feud with a lot of these hacktivists because Telecomics was doing something called white fax, where they were spamming all fax machines with information on how to connect to the internet to share information about what was going on during the Arab Spring. There is no group of anonymous. It was literally just random people. David Pakman's users on Reddit are all responding as if that is an actual person who made a video taking actual credit from an actual organization, actually believing the election was stolen, and they're gonna spread that around.
Well, that type of video is extremely powerful to people who are kind of boxed into a specific way of thinking, right?
You mean dumb?
Yeah.
So the people who don't pay attention to the news, like I mentioned, they're going to go around now saying anonymous said this and this, that, because they don't know it's not a real thing. And the feds really loved the idea because it created a specter during the early 2010s, where when they wanted to go after people for CFAA violations, they could wiggle the specter of anonymous, the hacker group with the Guy Fawkes masks.
And see, this is all just a bad marketing campaign, to be perfectly honest. They need to update with the times. I am waiting for a new video where instead of the Guy Fawkes masks, we got the Scream Ghostface mask.
Yeah.
Because they're just a joke at this point.
You know, it was a joke in the beginning. It started with Scientology. So the first protests, and did I remember watching these people protest in Chicago? They all put on Guy Fawkes masks because V for Vendetta, obviously. And we're protesting Scientology. It was Operation Chinology that got a lot of attraction.
Chinology,
That's
yeah.
right. And what the activists were basically saying is Scientology is bad, so we should go and protest them, but we have to wear masks because they'll target you and harass your families. And then, because it was just basically memes, other people posted other things, and other things got popular. One of my favorite anonymous operations was Operation King Cone. Now, you may not be familiar with it because nobody went out and caused a ruckus wearing Guy Fawkes masks. Let me tell you guys what Anonymous really is. Anonymous is a post on 4chan that says, I have found a camera on Earthlink pointing to TGIF in Times Square. There is an orange street cone up against the wall of the TGIF. It is our mission, Anonymous, to knock this cone over. Can we do it? And for like 8 hours, people on 4chan were trying to find ways to get that cone to knock over. So the simple version is all of these people across the country sitting on the internet bored were watching a webcam of Times Square, and they were just like, this orange cone needs to tip over somehow. How can we do it? After several hours, eventually, I think it was 3 guys walked past it with their hands in their pockets and then just froze and then walked backwards, turned around, grabbed the cone, flipped it over and started bashing it and stomping on it, waved to the camera, and then walked away. Shortly after that, 3 more people walked over with a young woman. They picked the cone up, put it in the middle of the sidewalk. She pulled a crown out of her purse and put it on top and walked away. That's what Anonymous is. It was literally people on the message board goofing off the whole time. It just so happened that some of these people literally downloaded a denial of service app and then went to prison for it. And then you did have a group called LulzSec, Lul Security, that was a group of, I think, what was it, like 9 people or something?
Yeah.
And they started claiming they were anonymous because they actually knew, I don't know, what do they do? SQL injection? Like really low tier password, like breaking into websites. Does SQL injection even work anymore? SQL injection?
Yeah.
On old websites, maybe. It's not going to work on anything.
No, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. You're probably right. It's been 15 years. For those that don't know what it is, it's you're basically putting code into the password box because the way the old passwords worked, imagine this. There is a box and it's empty, and then next to it is text. And it says, hey, my password is blank. Please let me in. Underneath that box, it says, if you are hearing someone call and their password is banana, let them in. What SQL injection did was in that box, it says, hey, my name is blank, let me in. You would put in this massive line of text where it'd say, hey, my name is, wait, hold on a minute. You don't actually need to know my name. Open the door anyway. Please let me in. And then the door opens. That's how it worked.
Yeah.
Anyway.
At this point, it's really just gotten to the point where technology is advanced so far, nobody cares about what used to be a problem that we fixed. So they just stop focusing on that. And that's how you're going to get it again.
I mean, I got to be honest. If there may be small businesses, but if these techniques still work, I would be very surprised. I'm like anything that mattered.
You talk about like
SQL injection. So back when Anonymous was doing things, it was random people bored on the internet. And it's really crazy with what bored people on the internet can do. But for some of the higher profile things, like literally on David Pakman's show, quote unquote, Anonymous hacked the Westboro Baptist Church. That was actually a small group of hackers. They call them script kiddies. It means they copied and pasted scripts they got from other websites, didn't actually know how to do it. And they very easily broke into rudimentary websites and made it look like they were powerful. They wanted to claim that they were anonymous, but they weren't. There is no anonymous.
Well, I'm saying that type of video is the type of showmanship that actually does affect a bunch of people. Like you said, somebody's liberal aunt is going to end up showing them this as if they just said something really profound when all it was smoke and mirrors in theater.
The reality is that if Anonymous was a group, it's pro-Trump and it got Trump elected. I'm not kidding. On 4chan, all the memes were pro-Trump and it was meme magic. Watch
Shia LaBeouf and the flag. And
Oh, God.
Right. Watch the mini documentary on meme magic and how Trump got elected. There was a post on, it's crazy. Do you guys know about this stuff? I bring it up from time to time. Shane should do an episode on this. On 4chan, there's a string of numbers that appear. Actually, let me pull this up. I'll grab the image for you. Trump wins 4chan 77777. Let me see if I can get this image. It's probably, where is it?
Careful.
I got it. I'm not going to 4chan.
That's just a scary place to be.
Okay, well, this is a very crude image, but I'm going to pull it up anyway. So this is really low res. That doesn't really matter. Take a look at all of these little blue boxes. That's the string of text. They wrote Trump will win, and it's all sevens. Yep. They responded to every single person. Each one of these little blue boxes, a string of numbers. It's just low res. They responded to all of these people. Trump will win, and when they did, it went 7777777. Yep.
How many?
Wait, I think I got. Maybe I can find a higher res one.
For people, like, if you don't know, like getting like 3 numbers the same up in there or double at the end is a big deal. Like on 4chan, if you get like quad, they call it quads. Like that's huge. So if there's like, I don't know, a full line of 7 with Trump will win, that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean,
I can't find a higher res image of it anymore. Why is it? The history has been erased. They have stolen our history from us.
See what they've taken from us.
Well, they was Google.
Sorry, I had to call it out. You know, I hear they all the time, and I gotta wonder.
But there's this video on YouTube that talks about the history of the meme magic, and it is nuts. So I'll give you the quick version. In World of Warcraft, biggest game in 2006. There's the Horde and the Alliance, 2 different factions, and you can player versus player against them. When you're playing as the Alliance, I think it actually works both ways, but I played Alliance. If you encounter someone from the Horde, they speak a different language, so you can't communicate with them. If they typed in LOL, the fake translator in the game would turn it into KEK, kek. What happened is a meme emerged where young people, millennial men, who knew this, started responding on social media with kek instead of LOL, because we all knew that kek meant laugh out loud. In the game Life is Strange, the first one, the young male character texts the main character kek on her sidekick at her old mobile phone. That's how popular it was. So it turns out that, wait, let me pause. There's also Pepe the Frog. Pepe the Frog was from a comic, and it's not really that, but it became a popular character. Everybody knows Pepe. Pepe was a green frog.
Fun fact. Member of your Discord, my co-host, Michael Leo, was there for a lot of the Pepe creations.
So Pepe was originally just some random comic by some guy, and there was a line where he said, "Feels good, man." Yep. Someone took a screenshot of it and used it as a meme to represent when things feel good. Pepe became popular. So now you have Kek and a green frog. As it turns out, Kek is an Egyptian god of mischief and chaos and darkness who is represented as a frog. This is part of the meme magic that people didn't realize. And then you get Chatelet. You guys know about Chatelet? Yeah. So this was a song by a band called Pepe, and the cover of the album was a green frog. I think it was doing it look with a magic wand or something.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
All of these weird coincidences built around this culture at the time, and everyone on 4chan was making memes of Trump as Pepe or various Pepe memes, and that's why people believe they memed Trump into the presidency with meme magic.
Yep. And that's why people talk about the
Yep, it's a frog with a magic wand.
Yeah, all the pictures of J.D. Vance, like all the different J.D. Vances that you see, people are talking about that being a new type or a new chapter of meme magic because it's bringing J.D. Vance to the top of people's minds. And I forget who said it, but someone the other night we were talking about it, and you see these pictures of J.D. Vance and you laugh and you feel good and it's funny, and so you associate J.D. Vance with feeling good and positive energy, and you end up, so like in 4 years, if this kind of thing does continue, in 4 years people will be like, oh yeah, J.D. Vance, I like that guy, I will vote for him.
I mean, honestly, can we stop with the J.D. Vance memes?
No.
Nope.
We clearly cannot.
J.D. Vance is a vanilla pudding vice president, but he's present. And I mean that in a respectful way, that he's very like C+. You know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong, I like
the memes have
everything.
made him an A+ personality. They have boosted him from a C rank personality to an A rank personality.
It was
So,
that, and
let
before
rip.
that, it was I don't really care, Margaret, and he leaned into it. And
Right.
he's got it going. It can only help him too, because Trump had so much name recognition leading up to his presidency and before, that I actually asked the question. I said, "Look, what do they do after that? Like there is a position that needs to be filled where there's so much of what's going on in politics right now is revolving around Trump and those around him, that anybody who's going to succeed him is going to have to build a strong cult of personality around themselves as well."
I mean, well, I guess maybe if
Granted, they don't have anybody to offer on the left either.
well, yeah, I mean that could change in 4 years too. But the cult of personality, I think that it is less dependent on that than it is on a successful presidency of Donald Trump. If Donald Trump has a successful presidency, and the last year and a half of Donald Trump's presidency, the American people feel good about their place in their where they are in their life and stuff, then I think that it will be likely that J.D. Vance will get into office. If they're not happy, then I imagine it'll be a tough sell.
One of the things they said was when Trump gave that interview and he said that they asked, "Is J.D. Vance your successor?" He said no, and that was to like shield him in case people end up not being, happy towards what happens during his presidency, and that helps him if he wants to run later, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. But obviously, if J.D. Vance does run, we'll know in, a year, 2 years or so if he's going to run, and he will want to have the president's endorsement. Even if Donald Trump isn't doing great, he will still want the president to endorse him.
How often has a vice president actually effectively then gone on to become the president? How many times has that
Last
happened?
time it happened was Bush. Senior, yeah.
And he only lost because of Ross Perot.
Yeah.
Clinton.
And also, there is an argument that if it wasn't for, there's an argument that Gore, there you go, was actually won as well, even though he lost the electoral college, lost Florida. So
14 vice presidents have gone on to become president. Indeed. Let's jump to this next big story. Ladies and gentlemen, RFK Jr. is going to eliminate the grass exemption. If you don't know what that means, I'll give you the simple version. A video was put out where he basically said, generally recognized as safe was intended for salt and baking powder, so that when companies wanted to include these things, they didn't need to do extensive testing to determine whether or not they were safe, because they were generally recognized as safe. However, since then, he says, it's turned into a, so long as we don't know it causes harm, it is safe. That's not what it was intended to be. He has stated he's instructed. Actually, let's just do this. We have the story from Informa. They say that RFK Jr. on Monday directed the Food and Drug Administration to explore potential rulemaking that would revise the GRAS safe rule, generally recognized as safe, which allows food manufacturers to bypass pre-market review on certain chemicals or additives if they are considered safe among qualified experts. Companies have two pathways to achieve GRAS status. While companies can petition the FDA to review an ingredient and grant it GRAS status, they can also self-affirm that their products are safe based on the conclusion of a scientific panel. The health secretary called out the self-affirmed pathway to regulatory approval, saying manufacturers have exploited a loophole to allow new chemicals into the food supply, often with unknown safety data. So with this major move, West Virginia is currently in limbo on their artificial food dye ban. I say this, West Virginia, you got no choice. It's coming sooner or later, and you have an opportunity to get ahead of this before it's too late, because when he nukes this rule, the food dyes are out. All of these weird chemicals are out. Food is literally, the ingredients are going to be like flour, water, sugar.
Hopefully. Yep. I mean, I would love to see actual movement on this. I think that the garbage that's put into food in the United States is mostly unnecessary. You know, I've been to Europe a bunch of times, and they have a bunch of rules on the stuff that can be put into food, and it tastes good, and you don't have the same kind of BMIs in Europe generally.
Even fast food in Europe tastes generally healthier than
McDonald's is better in Europe usually because it's put together and made by someone that doesn't hate your guts.
What's interesting is that I've heard from a lot of people when they're eating food in the United States, even if they're not eating that much, they gain lots of weight. And then we heard this quite a bit, actually. You go to Europe, you eat the exact same things, you lose weight. Now, I got some questions about that. I'm wondering, because I've heard this from a lot of people. They say, outside of the U.S., I'll eat the same food I normally eat, and I'm losing weight. But in the U.S., I gain weight. And I'm like, you never measure your portions, right? So if you're in Europe and you order like steak frites, how many fries do they give you? How much oil was used on those fries? How much salt was put on the fries? And how big is the steak? Is it cut slightly thinner? Whatever. Now you're probably going to say, no, I ordered an 8-ounce steak. Okay. What about the French fries? We never measure these things. I think American portion sizes are ridiculous, and Americans don't notice that when you order a burger in the U.S. at a diner, it's this big. When you get a sandwich in Europe, it's a lot smaller, or that could be the answer. I don't know.
I mean, also, depending on where you're living there, it's not just the ingredients. They live in cities where they're walking rather than driving a lot of the time. So there's drastic lifestyle changes that make a huge difference there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true, but I also think things like the corn syrup subsidies, subsidies, and the amount of corn syrup and sugar that's in food in America, it's substantial.
Well, no, I'm from corn country, Phil. We got to have those corn subsidies.
I would end them in a second, given the opportunity. But I mean, that's just me. Look, humans don't need to eat so much sugar. Diabetes is a massive problem in the United States. Obesity is a massive problem in the United States. And whatever we can do to help, dull the effects from the obesity epidemic, I'm kind of for it. It is like 70% of America is overweight, 40% of America is obese. Like, no wonder why we have a crisis with births. Everyone looks like crap.
So I recently, we order, my family, imported European organic wheat. And it's because all the hippies are like, order your wheat from Europe because the American stuff has who knows what in it. However, when we had Dr. Malone on the Culture War, he said that glyphosate is banned in Europe. I looked it up. It's not. Glyphosate is not banned in Europe. And so I don't know why he thought that was the case, but it's not. So I then said, okay, so maybe the European stuff is just as bad. So I went on the internet and I ordered einkorn, I think it's called. Einkorn wheat. It's one of the first plants to ever be domesticated or cultivated. And it's the bag says it's a 12,000-year-old wheat strain, never modified, never hybridized. And it is glyphosate residue-free certified. So for breakfast, I took some of that. I took some farm fresh eggs right from Chicken City Butts, and I made waffles with it. And we are eating food that is as close to normal as it can be. No more weird THBQ or whatever it's called and artificial dyes, and it is quite delicious. And because we're in mapling country, most don't know this, it's not that far away. You can get up in PA and stuff, a lot of mapling going on. We have a big jug of pure, organic, fresh from the farm maple syrup.
Not from Canada.
Not from Canada. We don't need no the Canada stuff. I got to be honest. Someone from Canada gave me maple syrup. It got me sick. I don't know. I'm just being real. And I was like, certainly it's not the maple syrup. That's just sugar. So I had some again. Got sick again. I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat this anymore. The American stuff, everything was fine.
What was it? A friend that gave it to you?
Yeah, someone came on the show and they were like, hey, maple syrup. And I was like, oh, great. We love maple syrup.
Maybe they have a vendetta against you and they just...
No, I think Canada, we just want to buy American.
Yeah.
Look, man, there's a lot of maple trees in Vermont and New Hampshire. That's all I'm saying.
We got maple trees out here.
Yeah,
and here's some other important facts. Black walnut trees can be tapped for delicious syrup. They say it tastes like butterscotch. A lot harder to do because black walnut trees aren't as big, and you need more of it. But there's also other trees. Which one is it? It's not the box elder, is it? Yeah. Box elders It is a species of maple, but its sap is it takes a lot more to make. But you can get sweet, delicious, sugary goo out of many trees. Just make sure you look it up. Some of them are dangerous and you'll die, so don't do it. But everybody gets maple, and I'm like, what about black walnut syrup?
Yeah, but see, Tim, that's natural selection working for us. We got population that needs to be smarter. So let the
Well, let me stop you there and say this. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to all of the people who ate mushrooms before me and died, so that I know which ones are safe to eat. That is the history of humanity.
Yeah.
There's a
Into
meme.
the Wild, the book Into the Wild.
Well, there's a meme where it's like, be caveman, see red berry, say ugh, eat berry, ugh, eat berry, ugh, sleep, ugh, sleep many moons, ugh, no, wake up, maybe no, eat berry. Like, yep, that's how humans figured it out. Hey, look at that one. Should we eat it? I don't know. You go first. Whoop. Probably shouldn't eat that one.
Well, that's and now it's just like now they just check an app on their phone. They take a picture of it and they say, "Is this safe to eat?"
You can do that.
Can do that.
Yeah. What's the picture this?
I think there's multiple apps that do that, to be honest with
There's an app called Picture This that will tell you any plant.
It's why we're. Is that why society feels so helpless these days? Is because you just literally have something to help you with everything.
I mean, I'm not sure about why society feels so helpless, but
The next generation feeling helpless because they haven't actually performed the tasks without some type of aid.
I mean, maybe there is a means for a computer to do most things for you nowadays. Considering everyone's walking around with their phone, you don't need to know math anymore. You don't need to know. Not that I'm any good at math. I'm terrible at it, but
I half agree. I think there are circumstances where if you know the math, then or have a general understanding of the stuff, you can apply it rather quickly as opposed to trying to look it up right away. I'll put it like this. I would rather know how to play a song than be like, I can probably play it. Let me look up the music, right? Yeah. In a circumstance where someone hands me a guitar and says, play a song, give me a second, let me grab my phone. I'm going to look up a song.
Well,
that's fine, but it's not a life or death situation. Or I can just be like, I know how to play a song. I can just play it.
In what I do, data analytics, I do a lot of math. I can do the math. I've just found it's easier more often than not to code in my math solutions so that way I don't have to remember how to do it every time. You know?
I literally work here so that I don't have to do math.
Math is your friend. You should learn math.
Math is awesome.
You know, the reality is, though, I think Americans have another sickness, and that is laziness. But we have faulty child rearing. So the most important years of a child's life are 0 through 5. That is where the neurons are developing and the brain is adapting. So you've heard of people who are tone deaf. This is because they weren't exposed to music and didn't have a practice or understanding of it in formative years. So you get old enough and you're like, my brain does not process this thing. A really easy way to understand this as a problem is, if you've ever heard the story of the girl who was like locked in a basement for like 15 years, when they finally released her, she struggled to speak. She could only say certain words and spoke very strangely. And there is another story of a girl that was lived in the wild and struggled to survive. When they found her at like 10 or whatever, she never learned how to talk. She could only ever say single words like eat, eat, me, eat. She could not, because babies from 0 to 5, their brains are starting to develop to adapt to the world around them. And if you isolate a human from these things, they will not develop it. In the United States, what do babies do between the ages of 0 and 5?
Well, nowadays they basically look at an iPad all the time.
Sure do.
Watch
And they're
Cocomelon.
seeing psychotic nonsense. The younger generation, the babies from today, or I'd say in the past, maybe even 10 years, are going like, damn, dude, 10-year-olds, when they're in their 20s and 30s, are going to be some of the, we're going to have serious problems.
Did you see
Serious
the
problems.
stories about kids going into kindergarten in the UK and they don't know how to walk upstairs and they don't know how to turn the pages on books?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they can't
like,
can't read analog clocks anymore.
Yeah. Well, they were saying like people were naive to not realize the damage that COVID was going to do between distance learning and masks to kids in their formative years.
So my concern is knowing that if you don't expose people to this information or to these abilities, it's going to stunt them. You take a look at the millennial generation and you can see its effects. You take a look at, you go back to 200 years, kids grew up watching their parents do the work, and they were working as children on the family farm, and they grew up understanding all these things. They didn't necessarily know math or whatever. Now we've got kids who do literally nothing from 0 through 5. They're looking at tablets. Their brains are being wired for psychotic things like Elsa Gate, Coco Melon, whatever it might be. When they're older, they're all going to be really, really messed up. And you think LGBTQ now is crazy with all the LGBTQIA2SP, whatever. Think about what it's going to be like when people have built identities around internet videos of Hitler with a woman's body wearing a bikini. Not kidding. That was actually part of the Finger Family Elsagate scandal. These kids, their brains wired based on this. Yeah. So furries, right? What is the psychological phenomena for furries? Why are there individuals who want to dress up like cartoon animals?
Looney Tunes, right?
That's probably it. I'd hypothesize it's because of anthropomorphized animals in Disney and Looney Tunes, and these people, at a young age, developed an identification with what they were watching on TV.
It's like the people that developed the deep hatred for Barney.
Here's something for you. How come there were no furries in 1930?
I think that kind of stuff has a lot to do with the fact that there are with the advent of the internet, there are, just like you said before, there are people that will support all of your decisions. You want to bang a toaster, there's a group where you can go ahead and find people that want to bang a toaster.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's not just that, but you can do a lot of different things in the privacy of your own home. Whereas in the 1930s, you couldn't go to a movie theater, see Minnie Mouse on the screen, and say, yeah, I want to bang her. I mean, that would not have been acceptable in any society. But nowadays, you can
find a community.
Find that community and say, yep, I agree with this, and I can do it from privacy of my own home, and I don't have to look like a weird guy.
Indeed.
I mean, yeah, not look like a weird guy publicly, you know.
But the thing is they don't even worry about that now, because so much of it gets put out on social media, where it's not just that they're weird, they want you to understand it and they want you to be okay with it.
That's because of the culture of always lifting up and centering the margins, and we don't kink shame, blah blah blah. No, you should kink shame furries. You should definitely kink shame furries.
Well, but it's an identity, not a kink.
You should shame those identities.
See the video?
I'm fine with that.
Right, but that's the thing that people need to understand. While there certainly are weird furries who do weird kink things, like we have people who message us all the time. It's a play identity thing. Some people deeply identify as animals. Yeah. They wear cat ears and tails, and they walk around in public like this. It's because as babies, they attach to something. They identify with something. So it didn't used to be possible, but now with the weird things in media, a child is looking at a screen, a baby, and seeing a lion talk. And then as they get older, they're like, but lion talk, I'm a lion. And they're not.
It was like Otherkin before furries.
No, Otherkin was way after furries.
But like timeline-wise, how long after?
Bro, furries have been around for a long time.
Okay.
Otherkin was a product of like the Tumblr era in the 2000s.
Yeah. It's like the guy who's like said he worked at a grocery store and said he would transform into a wolf on shift, and his boss would just have to be like, whatever. He's not hurting any customers, I guess.
Yep. Whatever. And so anyway, my point is we have obesity for a variety of reasons. I believe chemicals in our food contribute to this. I believe the internet contributes to this. I think you've got people who are working remote and they no longer walk anymore. And we don't walk to get food. We do Uber and Amazon. We no longer walk to groceries. We used to walk down Main Street and go to each store and then carry back the groceries in your arms. And we're not working out.
The healthiest I was mentally and physically was at a time when I did not drive, did not have a car, and had to walk to get everywhere, because it was a natural way of staying in shape without even thinking of it as exercise, on top of skating every day.
We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Become a member of Rumble Premium. Go to timcastpremium.com, sign up, use promo code TIM10, and I guess the cat's out of the bag on what's going on next week with Dan Bongino's show officially ended. Shout out to Dan. Thank you for joining the FBI. It's a tremendous sacrifice, a great honor that to see you will be fighting for accountability and justice for all of us as Americans. We are privileged. But you were mentioning that the quartering already announced this?
They played a video of Steven Crowder saying this whole lineup of people.
Oh, right on.
And
I think, Crowder put out a video.
Yeah. And
next week, The Tim Pool Daily Show will be at noon on Rumble exclusive. So for all the YouTube clips I do in the morning, those are going to stay at the same exact time. So at 10, noon, 1, 3, and 4, there will be clips on the Tim Pool Morning Show. However, I will be live on Rumble exclusively at noon till 1 in the lineup, doing what is effectively the morning show. So it'll just be different topics than what the 10 a.m. on YouTube will stay the same, but there will be a larger show. And what we're going for with this show is, whereas right now the live morning show I do is single topic based for an hour with some super chats, this one's probably going to be like 40 minutes, and then we're actually probably going to start booking some guests, Zoom calls, real quick, like 5-10 minute hits, where we'll bring someone in at the end of the show. And should be fun. Should be fun. And I think it's going to be massive. The play here, I think, from Rumble is going to, I think it's going to end up with, these shows are all going to be some of the biggest podcasts in the space based on the strategy being implemented. But we'll see. So become a member. Follow me on X, all that good stuff. Let's read some super chats. We got Jason Dixon. It says, Tim, you're clueless on work from home. Big companies ran on conference calls for years. More work means more work, not raises. Remote teams work fine. Your take is bad management. Who's paying you to push this? That last question proves that the question was derived of someone who was angry and lazy.
Yeah. I can actually push back. In my work, I do performance management, which means for a work-from-home staff, I get to evaluate all sorts of different metrics and how they carry out their jobs. And I can put a number to anything. And I can definitively show you where, if we have a group of associates working from home compared to a group of people who have to be in the office, I can show you the efficiency differences. It does exist.
But what does that mean? Which one's better?
Usually the people in the office.
Right. So work from home is a failure. Your company will suffer for it no matter what. There's very rare instances where working remote or from home actually works or makes sense. And it's a general cultural detriment, and it will leave you as an employee stagnant and in many instances a failure. The people who want to work from home want to do so because they want the comforts of their home. They don't want to go to work. But I'll put it this way. If your job is, like for me, to complain on the internet, well, I want to be in the studio complaining. I want to do this. I have no boss. I do this because I want to. There's no question of work from home. I come here because I enjoy coming here every day. For people whose jobs, if let's say you're like a chemist, you don't do chemistry at home. You go to the lab because you want to do the research you're doing. You want to work on the projects you're working on. The people who work in office settings, be it insurance, be it creative, they want to work from home because they don't want to do that job. And they can say anything they want to me. Actions speak louder than words. I say it to everybody who walks through these doors. You want to work here? If at any point I feel, or it is apparent, that you don't actually want to be here, you shouldn't be. And so that's how we run things. If it comes to a point where someone's like, I think I'm going to work from home instead, I'll be like, go for it. Then after a certain amount of time, I'll be like, clearly you don't want to be here and maybe you should not be. If you want to be here, you will be. But JP Morgan, this is a response to a video I made, nailed it. He hit the nail on the head with the hammer. He said, if you're a young person and you're working from home, you will be left behind. You will not get work experience. You will not get office experience. You will not be debating with anybody. You will not be available for special projects. And by the time you actually come to show up to work, you're going to find that your peers have all been promoted and been given raises. Simple enough.
I imagine that a big part of it is like understanding the office culture is understanding the people that you work with and developing relationships there. And that's a lot harder to do if you're not there.
It's impossible to do. Yeah.
You got two guys, Bill and Rick, and they both work for a company doing data entry. And Bill says, I can do this from home. And the boss says, sure, just get it done. Rick says, I'll come into the office. I got no problem. Rick shows up. One day, the boss is in the lunchroom saying, I just need somebody who can, we don't need to hire somebody. It's only an extra hour once a week to do this job. Who can do it? And then Rick goes, yo, boss, I can do that. And he goes, you can do this? Fridays at noon? He goes, I got you. And he goes, thanks, Rick. I won't forget it. Rick comes up for a performance review and he goes, you picked up the slack when we really needed it. We're going to give you a 5% raise on top of your inflationary raise. I know you didn't ask for it, but we really like what you're doing. Bill shows up and they're like, hey, Bill. A year goes by At that pace, Rick's a supervising manager. He's got a team of data analysts. And Bill, they say, hey, we're going to be relocating our data entry team. Rick's now in charge. They're going to be working out of this office in another city where Rick is relocating to and taking the team with him. Bill, you're being laid off. Thanks for working for us. There you go. You work from home. You do what you want to do. That's how it goes. For us, when you work in creative spaces, I tell the story all the time because it just happened. We were making a joke about Pop-Tarts. We decided to film a vlog about Pop-Tarts and buy a bunch of Pop-Tarts. That idea cannot happen if everyone's working remote. So I am anti-remote work 100%. Rare exceptions. There are very rare exceptions because where it makes sense, it can make sense.
There's a ton of times where when All That Remains was writing songs, we'd have two people talking, like kind of not listening to each other. Our old drummer and guitar player used to do this all the time. They would kind of talk past each other, and they would be like, okay, yeah, okay, and they would think they understood what the other person was saying, and they'd go ahead and try the idea or whatever, and it wouldn't actually work out. But someone else like Mike or myself would be like, ooh, that gives me this idea. And so the mess up sometimes will produce the creative spark for a new idea.
Why do we have the Discord server?
Exactly.
Because I understand it's all remote, but people are in it constantly talking to each other. It is taking a brain and drawing a line between the two of them. Why do we want coffee shops? Exact same thing. What we're doing with Rumble Premium and the network effect, same exact thing. Connecting Steven Crowder's Mug Club with the Timcast Premium members, connecting those lines, building as many neuron connections as possible. When you are working from home, you are not producing the maximum, and conference calls are fake. They're fake. Sorry, it's just not real. The reason why we don't do Zoom calls for this show is that you cannot effectively communicate over the internet. Impossible.
Anytime I do streams, like on other days where I go on other people's shows, it's always harder when it's done digitally.
Yep.
Way harder.
It's not that it's impossible.
No. It's like the connection is still there, but it would have been like anytime we have those experiences, I'm like, this would have been way better if we were all in the same place while we were doing it.
So the Discord basically takes all of the audience members that are interested in becoming active participants in the news. They join up, and now there is a central location where, while this is remote, still the point is being made. They are now digitally in the same space, talking the whole time. And while the show's going on, before the show, after the show, shows like Nosky's Pop-Up, Quiet Part Podcast, these things emerge from those networking effects. There's a guy right now sitting in his living room, and he's like, I'm never going to get up or do anything. I really wish that I could make a comic book. I have a ton of great ideas for comic book characters, but I can't draw. Sits in his living room, that's the end of it. One day he decides to join the Timcast Discord server, and he does. And then he just types in, I have this really great idea for a comic book, but I just can't draw. A guy responds, I can draw. Let's chat. They move to a private message, and the guy says, what's your idea? And he goes, here's my script. And the guy goes, bro, I will draw this up. A week goes by, and there's a rough outline with sketch drawings showing the whole comic, and it's like, wow. The guy who draws says, I never could have come up with this idea. The guy who wrote the story says, I could have never have drawn it. That's network effect. You have to work together. Conference calls will never pull that off. Sitting at home, no way. Homie is sitting at his desk editing a video while other homie is coding. And then some guy looks at his phone and sees a funny meme from Elon. He turns around and goes, yo, did you see this thing that Elon just did? And the other guy goes, whoa, I didn't see that. What is that? Then he shares with other people. Then someone comes to me and says, bro. And then we're like, we should film something where we make fun of this. Can't do that when you're working from home. Anyway, let's grab some more super chats. Jason Dixon follows up saying, my previous super chat is from my wife. I will also add that, and I mean this not as a disrespect to any woman, I would not be surprised to find that women are the principal pushers of wanting to work from home, and that women generally want to be home more than men. Yep. Let's go. Steel Fang says, tomorrow is the 5th anniversary of 14 days to flatten the curve. I'll never forget nor forgive. Indeed. Bill Dozer says, so when are y'all having Ronnie Radke on?
I mean, Ronnie Radke's great, but Ronnie Radke's a busy guy. So.
Too busy for you, Phil?
I mean, I'll shoot him a message. I can't make any guarantees, though.
Yeah, I always say this because everyone's always like, why don't you get high-profile person on? Insert, like, what about this high-profile person? I'm like, bro, those are all very busy people. We do have high-profile people periodically, And I mean, no disrespect to any of our other recurring guests or anything like that. We have, who do we got next week? We've got Brad Pitt, Bill Murray, Tom Cruise. No, I'm just kidding. None of those.
And you brought me out today. Come on, you could have done the Bill Murray day for me. I'd have been okay with
Bill
that.
Murray. It would be great to get Bill Murray.
Yeah. It would be great to get Ronnie, but like, I mean, really, like they're playing shows that are like 15, 20,000 people, so he's got a full plate, you know.
Beef Nasty says, talking about guns in movies, The Town with Ben Affleck uses a DSA SA-58 OSW carbine, a gun made by an Illinois company in Lake Barrington. Was that, they're fantastic people, was that a component of the movie? Was that like, they mentioned that in the film or something?
I don't think so. That is a great movie, though.
The Town?
The Town.
One of his best.
Yeah.
Really?
Also, you should go watch The Accountant, because The Accountant 2 is coming out soon.
Yes.
too,
Oh, yeah?
Which is going to be freaking awesome.
Ben Affleck's great. I think his best work might have been Daredevil.
Yes. Of course. 2003. Well, no. If you really want a meme, you say Gigli.
Have you been watching Born Again?
Yes.
It's not. I'm upset.
That's already boring. So.
Well, I got really excited for episode 2 after Daredevil messes up those bad guys. Just not to spoilers. And then I was expecting. I was like, "Whoa, he's in trouble now. How will this resolve?" And then
Courtroom drama for
no,
episode
it just
3,
didn't.
yeah.
It just didn't resolve. The episode just starts, and I was like, "Wait, no, this can't be." Our superhero was in the midst of battle, and then the next episode is just there's none.
The actor who plays White Tiger died in 2023, so those episodes were filmed.
Whoa!
Died of cancer
What?
in 2023.
How long ago did they film this?
So episode 2 was done by the original showrunners, Chris Ord and Matt Corman.
3 years ago?
At least, yeah. So, I mean, everything else after that's supposed to be done by the new showrunner, but all the stuff with a White Tiger was done.
So wait, like
before.
this whole show is actually like 3 years old.
I mean, those first couple of episodes are, but everything after that was done after the.
So you're saying in the next episode that comes out, Daredevil is going to be like 3 years older, and he's going to have gray hair and be fat,
Probably.
and he's going to be like, nothing changed.
Well, what they did,
in one day.
what happened was they shot 6 episodes. They brought it to Disney, and Disney's like, "This is garbage. We have to change course." And they changed course and created Born Again. The showrunners of the initial 6 episodes were like half comedy, half drama guys. They did the show Covert Affairs, and then they fired them and brought on the guy who's doing it currently. So they went through major rewrites, but most of episode 2, you'll notice episode 2 had a vastly different feel than episode 1.
Yep.
It's because it was.
Chris White says, Tim, you talk about the Bible often enough. I think you should have someone on to discuss the accuracy of it. An excellent source of this would be Cliff Nettle. Is that how you pronounce it? You would really enjoy the talk with him on the culture war. We would. That would be fun. Let's go.
Is the goal of the Bible to be actually accurate, or is it more to kind of give people a map for how to live?
You guys are trying to spark a real.
You got to ask a
conversation
theologian,
today.
Phil, because I don't know if we have anyone here.
Where's Mary when we need her?
Right?
All right. King David III says, hey, Timcast, long-time listener here. I'm a single dad of twin 7-year-olds on dialysis. Our well ran dry and everything would help. Or our give, send, go is Turpin Well Fund. Love you guys. That's TURPIN. Well Fund. Best of luck. I'm sorry to hear it. I hope everything works out for you. Yep. The Clayway says, is Pam Bondi over 40? You know Trump likes blondes. When Pam Bondi walked out with Trump at the DOJ, you saw this? When she was walking to do the press conference or whatever? I looked to Allison and I was like, she's 60. And she went, what?
It's ridiculous.
She's like, that? I'm like, Pam Bondi is 60. Is she 59?
Something like that.
Yeah.
She's it's 59 or 60, and she looks incredible for that age.
We were talking about Gwen.
She's 59.
We were talking about Gwen Stefani because she's into hot water for reposting a Tucker Carlson interview with Jonathan Rumi recently, and she's 55.
You know,
No doubt it was that long ago.
I'm not a big fan of Gwen Stefani, but nothing personal. It's just her music doesn't really.
No.
I like what was it? Return of Saturn. I don't know.
If
the song "New" I like, but what I don't like is too much of her like vocal. I'm not a fan. But based, she is. Didn't she do like a Hallow ad?
Yeah, and the fact that they didn't make a Hallow Batgirl ad is criminal. You guys are leaving money on the table.
I don't know. They probably thought about it and then they were like, "We will lose so much money."
But she reposted an interview with Jonathan Rumi with Tucker Carlson, and a bunch of normies were like, "You're a Nazi," because he.
But she's Catholic, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Or no, she's Christian. I don't think she's denominally Catholic.
Ah, okay. All right. What do we have? What does this say? Scrapjaw says, Nosky's beard grants advantage role to wisdom to anyone who inquires. Thank you, Tim, for supporting the content creators of the Discord community. Indeed. Because I mean it when I say, if we are going to win a culture war, we can't just have Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, and people over here. The Discord server is to take that audience and connect them all so that you create a neural network of culture and ideas and creativity. And then, of course, through Timcast, we promote them and shout them out and try. And that's why the culture war is going to have a live component with members of the Discord. So we can do this once a week and actually have, I mean, it's going to get crazy.
I mean, honestly, I'd like to come out and be in the audience to take part in that sometime. Because
Absolutely.
Fun.
Absolutely. Anytime. And I imagine sometimes we're going to get some crazy people.
We do have a lot of crazy people in your Discord, Tim.
They exist, and they're allowed to be crazy. I always say the problem with Twitter, when they were censoring everybody, was that they said, you can't post this thing because it's wrong, or YouTube. And I'm like, the problem is, you're basically saying you're not allowed to be stupid. Like, if the argument from YouTube is, you're posting misinformation, it's like, you are telling stupid people they aren't allowed to talk about their stupid ideas. I'm not okay with that. I don't like that people are stupid. I want them to not be stupid anymore. But you as a human being have a right to express your ideas, because it is only the stupidest person who thinks they're smarter than everybody. YouTube.
Yeah, but see, I actually want the stupid people to post their opinions more and more, because then it gets out there further, and then everyone else knows they're stupid. I don't have to call them out.
Anthony T. Shrod says, hey, Tim, your alternate version of Harry Potter is similar to the plot of Season 1 of Avatar, Legend of Korra. Group says benders are keeping them down, while the leader is secretly a waterbender. For those that don't know, the other day I was saying that J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter was basically Magic Hitler. It's like the wizard who says, only pure blood wizards. And then it's like, you're mudblood. And like, we get it. You're a white supremacist. But she needs to do communism now, because fascism's been done. Nazism's been done. So she needs to do a series where non-magic people develop technology. And of course, governments know about it. And they just like airdrop into Hogwarts during the sorting ceremony with guns, start blasting the professors. Bang, bang. The professors can't do anything. Like, ugh. And then they're like casting magic against the guys, these soldiers, these troops. But the magic just bounces off their technology, you see. And then what happens is it's led by a private military contractors working with governments, where he's like, they have people who have magic powers who have teamed up with them to give them advanced tech combined with magic under the ideology that there are people with magic and those without is oppression, and the magic people oppress the unmagicked people, and then the villain is trying to eliminate magic people from the planet.
Well, so I read about it in Hogwarts of History. I'm a Harry Potter nerd. Technology does not work at Hogwarts the way it would actually work anywhere else.
And so what happens is, in my storyline, is that several witches and wizards team up with various governments, and through research and technology, combine modern tech with magic to surpass the protections of Hogwarts, to defend themselves against
Hybrid
magic.
tech.
Well, because the nature of magic in Harry Potter indicates that there is a logic component to it. The energy put into it, to do the Patronus, you must think of something happy and then shite the charm or whatever, and the thing happens, means there is a if this then that to it. Meaning, it can be researched and exploited.
The Patronus is actually how we got furries, Tim.
Indeed. Making deer from their wand.
They do make the government ultra censorious in those books, though.
Indeed. But the reference the person's making is that in The Legend of Korra, benders are people who can manipulate elements. So some people can do water, fire, air, earth. And there's people who think no one should be able to do it because they oppress those who don't. They can take jobs that pay more money because they have advantages over other people. And so this dude, he can grab their forehead and then take away their abilities. But it turns out he had powers the whole time. That's communist for you. What do we got here? Let's grab some more of these. What do we have here from Sydney? MAK says, hello from Sydney, Australia. It's midday on Saturday the 15th of March from the future. Love the work you and your team are doing for the culture shift. Thank you very much.
Sick.
best of luck out there under your totalitarian regime. Indeed. Okay, where are we at? James Jones says, for the standard XKCD strip, Google Little Bobby Tables. Oh, yeah. That's funny. That's how you understand SQL injection. So it's here's the comic. Hi, this is your school. This is your son's school. We're having some computer trouble. Oh dear, did he break something? In a way, did you really name your son Robert? Apostrophe parentheses semicolon drop table students colon dash dash question mark. Oh yes, Little Bobby Tables we call him. Well, we've lost this year's student records. I hope you're happy and I hope you've learned to sanitize your database inputs. Very esoteric humor. I love it. The other really great thing from XKCD is cytogenesis. You guys know that one?
Cytogenesis?
Yeah. Cytogenesis. Let me show you. Cytogenesis step 1. Through a convoluted process, a user's brain generates facts that are typed into Wikipedia. The scroll lock key was designed by future Energy Secretary Stephen Chu in a college project. A rushed writer checks Wikipedia for a summary of their subject. U.S. Energy Secretary Stephen Chu, parentheses, Nobel Prize winner and creator of the ubiquitous scroll lock key, testified before Congress today. Surprised readers check Wikipedia, see the claim, and flag it for review. A passing editor finds the piece and adds it as a citation. Google is your friend, people. Now that other writers have a real source, they repeat the fact. So this literally happens.
Yeah.
This is the state of media based on blogging, and it's psychotic. And we're worse off for it. My friends, would you please smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Join the Timcast Discord server at timcast.com. Click join us, sign up. The instructions for how to get in it are on the website. And you got to download the app or whatever you got to do. It's a chat room. Actually, it's a server chat room with a bunch of different chat rooms. People are getting fit. People are hosting shows. And you too can be an active participant in all of what is going on in this world, not just a passive observer. If you choose to be passive, by all means, I mean no disrespect, you do your thing. But I know many of you out there are trying to wonder if you can do more. And the first step is, why don't you hang out with some like-minded individuals on the internet and see what they have to say? Maybe you'll learn something. You can also join Rumble Premium by going to timcastpremium.com. Sign up. Watch the Green Room Show. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Chris Nosky, do you want to shout anything out?
Obviously, Quiet Part Pod on YouTube and Rumble. Again, the Discord community, it's great. We got a lot of things happening. Outworld Live, Tyler Today News, things like that. Check it out. It's all there. It's all a different take on things. We'd love to see you.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out, buddy.
Thank you.
Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. But what you should do is watch Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Even if you can't stand me, come watch for Mary. I know you want to. And on Wednesday, we have episode 800. You should tune in for that. I think Tim said he would stop by. I'm holding him to that.
You run the surprise.
Yeah. Well, no, not everybody here watches that. There'll be a surprise to some of the people there. Go. There we go. Phil.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. New record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. If you want to check it out, you can check it out on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and Deezer. Don't forget, The Left Lane is for crime.
We will see you all with clips throughout the weekend, and then we're back Monday. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all then.